Hello and welcome to our first YouTube video lesson. Today's lesson uses Worksheet 9.1, which is this one here, Explore Integer Addition. Today's lesson is about adding integers. So we're starting with adding integers, and we're starting by using integer chips to model the addition. I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, I'm going to show you some vocabulary that we need to know. Alright, integers is obviously the first word we're going to need to know what it means. What integers are is they are all positive and negative whole numbers and 0. So positive whole numbers are things like positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Negative whole numbers are negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, so on, so on. 0 is also an integer. Something like 2.4 is not an integer because it's not a whole number. 7.89 is not an integer because it's not a whole number. Negative 16.7 is not an integer. It's not a whole number. Okay, so for it to be an integer, it has to be a whole number. Zero pairs. What a zero pair is it's one positive and one negative. And you put them together and they equal 0. So here the example is positive 1 plus negative 1. They cancel each other out. That's what they do. And there's 0. Opposite integers are things like positive 8 and negative 9. So I have the same numeral but different sign. I'm adding them together, I get 0. Alright, let me show you how to model an addition problem using integer chips. In class, we're going to use red and blue bingo chips. I'm going to use virtual ones here to show you the process with. Okay. Now, the red integer chips, they represent positive numbers. So each red chip represents positive 1. Each blue chip represents negative 1. So, if I give you a problem that looks like this, 2 plus 3, and you're all going to say, well, that's obvious, that's 5. But if I were to model this using integer chips, it's going to look like this. I need 2 red chips to represent my positive 2 here. This is positive 2 plus positive 3. So I'm going to pull down 2 red chips, and I'm going to put them in a row here. Okay, I'm adding positive 3. So now I'm going to put 3 red chips in a row underneath to show that I'm adding positive 3 to positive 2. Okay, and all together I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positive chips, which means my answer here is positive 5. I could just write that as 5. I don't have to write positive 5, because if there's no sign written, it's just assumed it's positive. Okay, let's erase that, and let's try another problem here. Okay, let's try negative 3 plus negative 4. Now sometimes you'll see it written like this, with brackets around it. And it doesn't matter if it has the brackets. You can write it with the brackets or without the brackets. It's the same thing, it doesn't matter. Okay, negative 3 plus negative 4. So each blue chip represents one negative, so I'm going to start with 3 negatives to represent my negative 3. So 3 blue chips, 2 and 3. And I need 4 blue chips to represent my 4 negatives. So I'm going to do those underneath. Show my negative 4. Okay, so the top row here, this is negative 3. Down here is negative 4. I can just add all these up. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives total. So my answer here is negative 7. And we're going to do one more together before we start on the worksheet. Let's drag all these out. So we got fresh work area to work with again. Okay, let's do 4, so positive 4 plus negative 7. Now you can write it like this, like I just did, or you can put the brackets around it if you want. The brackets, they're not necessary, but they just make it a little more clear sometimes. Okay, so I'm starting with 4. That's 4 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've arranged my 4 positives in a row here, and I have 7 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, now I have a bit of a problem here in that I have negative chips and positive chips. So I can't just add them up, count them up, and see what I have. This is where the 0 pairs come in. Now remember, a 0 pair is made up of 1 positive and 1 negative. And 1 positive and 1 negative makes 0. So if I were to say remove a positive and a negative, that's 0. I haven't changed the number that's here. I can also add 0 pairs. If I pull in another positive and a negative, it's still the same number. I haven't changed the value. As long as I'm adding or subtracting 0, I don't change the value. Say I had 5, right? 5 plus 0 is 0. 5 take away 0 is 0. 5 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is still 5. It doesn't matter how many times I add or subtract 0 from a number, it stays the same. Okay? So if I take out a positive and a negative, and remember 1 positive and 1 negative is always 0. If I take away 0, I can take away as zeros as many times as I want. And this number here still stays the same. So I'm taking away all my 0 pairs. So every time I take away a positive, I need to take away a negative too. And so I've taken away all my 0 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I think I added 1. So I think it was 4 0 pairs I took away. But anyways, I have 3 negatives left. 1, 2, 3 negatives. So my answer is negative 3. Negative 3 is my answer here. Okay, let's look at the worksheet. Okay, now if you remember from in class, I said that in each video there will be a little secret I share with you, which tells you something you need to do in order to tell me that you actually watched the video. Okay? So for this worksheet, what you're going to need to do in order to tell me that you actually watched the video is you're going to need to put 3 little triangles on the date line on the worksheet. If you put 3 little date lines on, if you put 3 little triangles on the date line, I'll know you watched the video. If you don't have them when you hand this in, I'm going to assume you didn't watch the video and I won't give you any points. Alright. I'm going to skip over 1 to 3. You can do those by yourself. We're going to look at number 4 together here. So number 4 asks us, what addition statement does each diagram represent? Now they're using diagrams a little differently because we don't have red chips and blue chips. We just have circles with a plus or a minus sign in it to indicate whether they're positive or negative. So let's count our positives. Let's count our second row here to figure out what the addition statement is representing. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives here. So that's positive 6. Okay. And plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4. And again, you don't have to put the brackets, but you can. So negative 6 plus negative 4, that is, you could also just write this like this. 6 plus negative 4. B. First row we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. So that's negative 5. Oops. negative 5, and we're adding positive 2. I'm just going to put plus 2. C, 1, 2, that's negative 3 on the first row. And we're adding positive 3 second row. You can also write this like this, with the brackets if you want. Okay. With the brackets, it can be a little more clear, right? So it's negative 3 plus positive 3. It's a little more clear which one's positive, which one's negative, but this tells me the same thing, really. D, I'm going to leave to let you do on your own. Number 5, draw integer chips to show each addition statement, then solve each statement. 2 ways you can do this. One is you can, if you only have a pencil, you can just draw little circles with a plus in it or little circles with a minus, okay, to represent your integer chips. Or if you have a red pen and a blue pen, you can do what I'm going to do here. Okay, we got positive 2 plus positive 3. So I'm going to have 2 red chips to represent my positive 2. Okay, and then in a row below it, I'm going to do 3 red chips to represent my positive 3 that I'm adding. Whoops. That I'm adding to it. So positive 2, positive 3. I count up how many chips I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My answer is positive 5. B, negative 5 plus positive 1. So I need blue chips to represent my 5 negatives. 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 blue chips to represent the 5 negatives. And I'm adding positive 1, so I need 1 red chip to represent that 1 positive. Now, I can't just count them up yet because I have positives and negatives here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of my 0 pair. I'm going to cross it out. I've just taken away 0. Whoops. There we go. Now I count up what I have left. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 negatives left over, so that's negative 4. Okay, and let's do C. Positive 7, so I need 7 red chips. Okay, and that's 4 blue chips. And I'm going to get rid of my 0 pairs. Cross out my 0 pairs. I'm left with 3 positives. Positive 3 is my answer. D, I'm going to leave for you to do on your own. And number 6. Temperature was positive 10 degrees Celsius when Tyler went to school, then dropped 4 degrees Celsius before lunch. Use the sum of 2 integers to represent the situation. Now, probably a lot of you are thinking, well, duh, it's just 10 minus 4. But it's asking for the sum of 2 integers, which means we need an addition statement. Subtraction, we're getting a difference. We want a sum. Sum is the answer to an addition statement. So the way we're going to write this addition statement is we're starting at positive 10. And what are we going to add to it? We're going to add something. It dropped 4 degrees. So that would be negative 4. So we're going to add negative 4 degrees to it. Positive 10 plus negative 4 is our addition statement we're going to use. Now it asks us to solve it. Positive 10 plus negative 4. I'm going to use my integer chips again to do that. So I need 10 positives. 10 positives and 4 negatives. Cross out my 0 pairs. I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Positive 6. Backside I'm going to leave for you to do on your own. So that's it for today's lesson. You need to complete 4D on your own, 5D on your own, and the back, also 1, 2, and 3, and the back side of this sheet. And that's worth 5 points.